I told you guys. I don't remember if I have the screenshots or not. This is who I had in the finals in the Western Conference. This is who I had to win the finals. I think there was a certain part in time I did have Boston, but no, this is the team. If you guys have been following the channel, um, I know it doesn't show because I have videos I think from like 8 months ago, but I used to make videos, and Jokic has been my favorite player for probably around 3 or 4 years now. Um, I have multiple jerseys of this man. You would think that I was like, well, I'm not even gonna say what I was about to say, but he is my favorite player in the league by a pretty big margin. I have a lot of respect for this man, and I think this is finally where people are starting to wake up about where Mr. Jokic has been doing. Um, when it comes to dominance from a standpoint of an offensive scale, I think he is one of one. I don't think there's really anybody that does as much as he does on the offensive scale, especially from a center. Um, the fact that, let's think about guys that are offensively talented from a center standpoint, right? Shaq couldn't shoot three throws. Jokic can. He can also shoot the three pointer and shoot the mid range. Shaq can't really shoot any of those. And he can't pass like Jokic can. Yeah, he's probably a better scorer, but Jokic, really, we're going to talk about Jokic is a really good scorer too. So the passing followed by the shooting and the three throws, all that stuff, really, I think trumps Shaq for me, as well as Kareem, as well. Wilt was a good passer, but Wilt didn't translate to winning like Jokic does. And he also didn't have to go far. Didn't have to go team up with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor to be doing that. So shout out to Jokic there. Let's talk about just other bigs in general, right? Dirk is not as good of a shooter, passer, or rebounder as Jokic, so we'll start there. KG could not shoot like Jokic. He's definitely a better defender, but he's not a better offensive player. Um, Hakeem is a great, I think, verse. I think he's one of the better verses for Jokic, but he still can't shoot like Jokic can. And I mean, I'm not even going to talk about Joel Embiid because it's not a competition who's better anymore. Regardless, shout out Denver Nuggets. That's all my slander in the beginning of the video. Um, but yeah, shout out to Nuggets for winning a 4-1 series. I had them in 5. Shout out to the Nuggets. They did it in 5. Shout out to Bam having a pretty good series. Trying to stop Jokic is not easy, and I think this could be an unpopular opinion. I think it's going to be hard for the NBA to do what they did to Shaq to Jokic because of what he does. They would have to literally change the game for everybody, and I just don't think it would be possible. I just think that level of dominance is hard to stop. They're going to have to figure out zones or some sort of way to stop the two-man game from happening. This series was never really an option to me. Everybody was talking about when they went down game 2. I think they got to understand that Michael Porter Jr. and KCP played like trash a good portion of the series, and game 3 and 4 were pretty much the same game. Yeah, they literally were the same game. They were 1 point difference on each side, so it literally equals about the same score. And Jokic, what, you want to turn Jokic into a scorer? Okay, let him drop 40 on you. That doesn't make any sense to me because those guys are still going to find their way. Jokic is a very unselfish player, so he's still going to find his way to score. Jimmy Butler was a no-show this series. 22 points per game on pretty nasty shooting. So shout out him. I mean, I knew this was going to happen at some point. I didn't think he was going to be averaging 38 or whatever, 36, whatever he was averaging against the Bucks. And yeah, Denver isn't nearly as talented as Milwaukee, but you got to think about it. I just don't think Milwaukee would. I think if Milwaukee would have had a little bit more time, I think they would have beaten them. So, but I think if Giannis played all those games, I think it would have went Bucks in 6. But Miami is a very tough 8 seed, and I don't want to hear anybody talk any slander on this team. They did their thing. Yeah, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin pretty much were no-shows one game after another, but they did have Kyle Lowry come off the bench, which was huge for them, hitting pretty high clip on threes in this series. Bam, again, there were certain times where he wasn't playing very good offensively, but he would make it up on the defensive end. So I just think he showed up one way or another, which a lot of the other team you couldn't say. I just also think Eric Spoelstra was outcoached by Michael Malone this series, which I actually thought was going to be the opposite. I thought Spoelstra was going to give the only way that this Heat team would have beat the Nuggets is if Eric Spoelstra had an excellent game plan, but I just don't think he had that. He had Cody Zeller. Yeah, I get it. You want to give Bam a rest, but you couldn't have done it with Kevin Love as a 5. That's the part that doesn't make sense to me. He was playing great minutes and grabbing rebounds over Jokic, which is hard to do, especially. I mean, you just got to have a guy that can actually outwork Jokic, and I don't think Cody Zeller was that answer. Um, for whatever, he literally showed up for like 5 minutes in Game 5, and I was like, why? And Spoelstra pulled him right out, and that's when Jokic got it down to 1. I think they were down 7, and they came down to 1. I just think Michael Malone called better timeouts. I think he made better substitutions on the fly because even then in that game too, the Nuggets were coming back and they put the right guys in at the right time. So none of these games were really convincing me that the Heat were going to win this series. Not a single one of these games, man. So yeah, even though they won game 2, I still had Denver winning both games against the Heat. So there you have it. Jokic is a finals MVP, sorry. And I just think he is the undisputed best player in the world going into next season. And yeah, that changes year to year, and I think it should, unless it's, I just think the best guy on the court, and just especially with a freaking stat line of having the most assists, the most points, and the most rebounds in the entire postseason has never been done before. It is absolutely incredible what he is doing, and it is showing that he is not a fraud. And when you give him a team when his team is healthy, he will work wonders on you. So the Nuggets won in every stat imaginable in the averages when it comes to points, rebounds, assists. Yeah, sure, the Heat were probably had a little bit of the edge defensively, but even then, Aaron Gordon was playing great. KCP, yeah, he was doing some dumb fouls in Game 2, and that's part of the main reason why they lost was the 2 3-point fouls, and then the phantom foul in Game 5 was silly. Other than that, I mean, the one that they ended up challenging and losing where Jimmy Butler literally touched nobody and kicked, and they called a foul. I don't understand that. Other than that, Jimmy Butler was really a no-show in this series. And Tyler Hero, I would not be surprised if he is moved in the offseason for maybe a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard. I would not be surprised there. Or maybe even Jaylen Brown. I don't know. But I just think him not playing this entire postseason really hurts his value and really hurts the Miami Heat wanting to keep him. I don't think if he played it would have been much different. Maybe they would have won Game 5 with Tyler Hero, but even then, he really didn't show me anything in this in this regular season to where I would really swing the other direction on how this series would go. Maybe it would go to Game 6, but I still don't think. I think that would have taken shots from Jimmy Butler that would have maybe costed them in the clutch. Like those 2 threes he hit, and then the one where he got to the foul line, which was kind of a BS call. But regardless, I also want to talk about the referees before I go. The referees in Game 5, well, let's just say the whole series, because even then, like, there were certain times where the Nuggets were getting calls, and there were other times where the Heat were getting calls. But I'd mainly say it was a Heat-driven, especially Game 2. In Game 1, when they tried to bring him back into it. In Game 5 especially, where the refs, I don't know if they need to get their eyes checked, but a lot of the calls that they were calling especially the two calls on Jokic in Game 4. The two late calls on Jokic in Game 4. I think one of them was maybe a foul, but it put him into foul trouble. They were doing a lot of things where I don't think they were doing it on purpose, but I think they had a little bit of a bias on who wanted to win because at the end of the day, Denver is Denver, man. Like Miami is the bigger city, and there are more fans, Miami Heat fans, than there are Denver Nuggets fans. Like think about it. When you were in high school, right? I'm from Michigan, okay? This is where I'm from Michigan. I don't know a single Denver Nuggets fan. I don't. I mean, I might be one of the only ones because even then I'm a Pistons fan, and if I had to choose Jokic over the Pistons, I would not. But however, Jokic is my favorite player. I'm not a Nuggets fan. You know what I'm saying? Miami Heat has fans. I went to school with multiple kids that were fans of the Miami Heat. So I just think that Miami has a bigger fan base, which is more of a chance of the officials really caring more about the Heat than the Nuggets. I think there is bias there, and that is okay. I think there were bias. I think that bias will change next year. I think with Jokic having such an all-time status, it'll follow the player, not much as the team anymore. For example, LeBron James holds that type of leverage, uh, and then teams as well, like the Boston and the Lakers, Celtics and the Lakers. Sorry, those teams hold leverage and they get those certain calls. Um, but there were a lot of bad officiating in this, and I really hope it changes. Um, but other than that, I mean, this was a pretty good finals, and it was surprising to hear it was top. It was the best in the last 5 years. I mean, I'm genuinely surprised with the pandemic. Not many people had much to do, so I thought 2020 and 2021 would have been a time to watch the finals. But I mean, I just think it shows what type of player Jokic is becoming in front of our eyes, and is really. I've known this for probably 2021, and I even knew he had that potential in 2020 and 2019. I just knew he was that type of guy because I watched him and I watched his plays and I watched how he'd play off of Jamal Murray. I knew that this was coming at some point. I knew he had a ring in his future, and if it's only one, it's only one. But at the same time, I just think he is that type of player that will give you that type of efficiency and that type of time every single time he plays in the court. And people want to play with guys like that because that makes him and his teammates better. Players will want to go play with him because of how unselfish he is. He is that guy that will put up 5 shots but will have 20 assists. He will do that if it wins the game. And I think that goes to show on what type of player he is. And that is a really scary type of player. I think that's one of the scariest players ever because of how he doesn't need to score to kill you. He will kill you with his 20 assists because he will get those 3-pointers. And I'm just blown away with what he's done in this playoff. And I knew he was this good, but I didn't think he was going to do all this in the finals and in this playoff run, shooting 57%, 42 from 3, 85 from the line. It's incredible splits. But I also just want to say shout out to Bruce Brown, shout out to Christian Brown, all these guys that really did come their own and really help make this title what it was. And I just think that without them, this would still be a series. Christian Brown was huge off the bench, and so was Bruce Brown. And I think, unfortunately, Bruce Brown will not be on this team next year. But I think most of this core will stay, and the Nuggets will just have to try to find a Bruce Brown replacement, and they will just probably run it back. But other than that, man, I mean, I'm very happy with how this turned out. You know, I'm a Nuggets fan, or not. I'm a Jokic fan, but in this playoffs, I was a Nuggets fan because this was my favorite team in the playoffs. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't wear my Jokic jersey. I wore it either when they won the title, so it was Monday. I wore it then, and it got dirty, so I didn't. I wasn't able. It's currently in the dryer right now, but I didn't want to wait to make you guys a video. Other than that, I mean, let me know what you guys thought about this finals down below. Shout out to Miami Heat for having a great series. I can't take anything away from them. Them being an 8th seed, making it all the way to the finals, beating the Bucks and the Celtics. Shout out to them. But other than that, I mean, Jokic is the best player in the league. He is obviously a top 25 player in the league. Maybe I'm currently making you guys something, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's gonna take me a couple weeks, so that video won't be out until I have it out, and it'll be a huge video. So I'm excited for that. Other than that, man, I mean, this is what I got for you guys today. Shout out the Denver Nuggets, first championship, first Finals MVP for Jokic, and shout out to the Miami Heat for playing a great series, and just love basketball, man, because it's a great time to be an NBA fan, man. So shout out to you guys down below. Hit a like, subscribe, comment for me today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.